Hey guys, this is the Thousandth Son, and this is a review of Season 1, Episode 1 of The Witcher Blood Origin. Now, I know I don't normally do this sort of stuff, but with my last video kind of touching on The Witcher and Henry Cavill's departure, I thought it might be worth checking out what the showrunners can do without Henry Cavill's influence. Now, I haven't had my head completely in the sand throughout this, and I know this has been out for a couple of weeks now, so I do roughly know what I'm getting into. But what my plan is to watch this in real time and then pause every 10 or so minutes just to sort of explain what I've just seen, give you my thoughts on it, and then see how that goes. So yeah, without further ado, let's press play. So where am I? I'm almost 4 minutes in, 3 minutes 46 to be precise. And obviously we've had this scene, the opening scene, it's all upside down, which quite frankly I think went on longer than it probably should have done. The upside down part specifically. I got to the point where I'm trying to crane my neck upside down to see what's going on, and it felt a little disorientating, a little weird. I don't know whether they're going for something a little bit artsy here, but honestly it's just weird. Who starts their TV show upside down? I mean, genuinely, the opening here is supposed to be capturing people's attention, and like the normies especially, which is what they're going to thrive off of. It's not going to be the fans of this stuff that watch this, ironically. So they need the normie engagement. And is a normie gonna see this and go, yeah, I want to? I mean, what do they say? People's first impressions is made in the first sort of like 7 seconds or something stupid. So I don't know. It was a bit of an odd thing, the upside down, but I guess I can move past that. The rest of it, though, obviously the bard, is he the bard from the original Witcher series? He's in this, but he's in the middle of a war zone. I don't know why. Doesn't really explain. He's just in the middle of a battle. There seems to be some tents around. So is it someone ambushed their camp in the dead of night? No idea. It doesn't explain it. But he's in the middle of this battle. He's swearing an awful lot because, I guess, fine, whatever. And then time pauses, and he doesn't understand what's going on. It's a bit weird. Obviously, this entity appears, and firstly, it's almost like a doppelganger. The entity is appearing to be himself in some like weird hat and weird clothes, and the first joke is like, "Oh, I'm not into this." Aww. It's like, yeah, no, I'm sure this entity has just paused time to have its way with you, as it looks like. Just weird. It's like an odd joke. I don't know. It seems quite. It's purposely put in here so we can tie the two universes together. And if I'm honest, I think the normies won't get it, because I barely recognised him from the actual Witcher. So anyone else coming into this is going to realise it's part of an expanded universe. I don't know. Then the doppelganger turns into some sort of monster, brags about being many faces, many creatures, many places, some line. It then turns into an elf and teleports the pair of them to some woods. Better. It's the first words out of the elf's mouth. Right? No, I don't think it is. I don't know who this lady is. She's had an awful lot of work done, hasn't she? Right? So it's probably not how she looked a few years ago. And there's nothing that says, immersion breaking to anyone than an elf with clear plastic surgery. I don't know, wasn't there someone else that could have taken this role? Someone who looked more ethereal? I don't know, it's so shattering. It's suddenly, you almost... I didn't laugh at the intended joke in the first bit about him fancying himself, but I certainly laughed at an elf with Botox. I honestly, I planned on pausing this every 10 minutes and recapping the highlights, but Christ, I don't know how many times I've paused it already. Yeah, we're related, you and I. Yeah, sure we are. And he makes some sort of quip about, oh, you want to eat me or something, because obviously he doesn't know what this entity is. She's now appearing as an elf, and I don't know, the actress is trying to emote, but I don't think her cheeks can move, so there's that. Oh, good grief. Right, so we're still in the woods. We're still having this chat with the Botox elf and the bard who she rescued, so he can go and tell a story And what does she do? Well, she recounts the plot of presumably the next 4 episodes. That, we're going to have 7 warriors. Hi-ho, hi-ho. They're going to get together, defeat the unstoppable empire. Well, if they're unstoppable, I don't know how you're going to defeat them, right? It's like when you walk around, like in the UK, sometimes you see signs on people's sort of garage doors, don't park here, driveway is in constant use. Well, it's not in constant use, the garage door's closed. It's not in use right now. It's the same sort of, I don't know, splitting hairs. But yeah, they've just summarised. Let me check the timestamp. We're 5 minutes 50, and she's literally just summarised what's presumably going to happen in the next 4 episodes, which I think it's only 4 episodes. And what do they think? The audience are dumb? Don't answer that. You don't need to tell people exactly what's going on. What's wrong with this? You can just show them what's happening. You can set up, you can build up the scene and the environment and the story, without having to just go, right, straight off the bat, this is what's going to happen. That's a good line. That's a good line. So if you're watching this with me, if you decided that, you know what, I'll watch it and I'll pause it at the same time. Right, we're at 6 minutes 19, and the bard has just uttered the line that that's a great story, that's amazing, I can't wait to hear this, blah 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 blah. But obviously they're specifically in relation to the first Witcher. Well, that's going to piss Geralt off. I know exactly what they're doing with that line. What that line actually translates to is that will piss the fan base off, that will piss the purists off. And I just think this is just more of what these programs do. It's just fan baiting, right? Or even if it is, it's not not targeting the fans, and it's just targeting Geralt. The other thing they mean is that will piss Henry Cavill off, right? Because the guy's just left, because we don't stick to the law, so let's muck around with this. That'll annoy him, won't it? Because that's the best attitude to have going into things, isn't it? Oh, this is going to be tough. I thought, getting into the world of reviewing stuff. Yes, this is a good idea. Jesus. Oh, stop. Right, okay. So, I don't know. I'm old enough to remember when TV programs had awesome sort of theme tunes, and they set up that da 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 da, and you think, yeah, Game of Thrones, yeah, before it turned terrible, right? So what I can only assume when an episode in is going to be like the opening to The Witcher BO, right? It's just explaining the 7 characters, like it's just more setup, like it's more exposition. Like, I don't understand it. Like, just you don't need to explain all 7 characters in the title sequence. Like, who has ever done that? Like, you imagine it anywhere else. Good grief! You can watch, it's the Fellowship of the Ring, and then it starts off before any of it. Like, a little bit about the War of the Last Alliance, and then bang straight into. Here's Frodo, and there's a picture of Frodo. Here's Sam. Sam, the person that saves everyone. Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I'm pinching the bridge of my nose with this one, guys. Right, so the first scene after the title sequence is we're following the Lark. And I know she's called the Lark because she was just introduced in the title sequence, as you do. Now she's walking up to a small village of half a dozen chimney pots at most. It's got small fortifications like a wall around the outside, but it doesn't look to be a massive settlement at all. But yeah, as she walks through the village, she stops at what we are led to believe is like a homeless person. I guess that's maybe plausible, I don't know, but it struck me as a little odd because there's not that many houses. So this guy is homeless. Like, either build these tiny little wooden shanty huts like the rest of the populace. It's not like you've got planning permission getting in the way, and I'm sure the village will step in and help you. So, like, is he really homeless? But if he is genuinely homeless and he's begging people for spare change, there's only like 20 people in this village. Surely they're going to get sick of him by now. Oh, God damn it, Dave. We've already given you our last penny. We did it yesterday. We've had this conversation. And then this newbie, the Lark, walks into the village and he's eyeing her up going, yeah, finally, fresh blood. I can beg to someone else. So she then enters into the tavern, right? Now, again, is another thing that struck me as funny, that this tiny little village has a tavern, because, I don't know, I've played medieval dynasties. I know what it's like. You know, I've got first-hand experience of setting up a small medieval village, and unlocking the tavern, that takes some grind, right? You know, to begin with, you're just a tiny house and like some wheat, if you're lucky. So this village is somewhat set up fine, right? So she goes into the tavern and she starts. I'm going to be generous here. She's playing music and singing a song. I mean, it's awful. It's just cringe. But she's singing away to her heart's content, and everyone's sort of like, you know, nodding along. Oh, this is great, isn't it? Shame we've got nothing else to do. And then this waitress, she walks through the tavern. She's handing out mead and the like. And there's a bloke. There's a white man who goes to reach for her, all inappropriately, like, of course he does. Right? But no, the Lark, she's hot on a hill. She pulls out some like knives or shrieking from her violin, which, you know, I don't know much about musical instruments, but like surely the middle of it needs to be hollow for the sound to like reverberate, maybe. But whatever. I'm thinking too much into it. So she launches these knives with pinpoint accuracy and takes down guys. She sort of like Chuck Norrises the rest of them. And I'm thinking, like, again, I know it's fantasy and they're setting them up, but they don't look that believable. Like, you know, Aragon taking on like a bunch of Uruk-hai with his sword. You can kind of get it because, you know, it kind of looks real. Especially the fight with Lurtz, that was awesome. But yeah, even to bring it into the same universe, when Henry Cavill fights, he has that sort of ruthlessness about him that made his fight scenes quite believable. With this, the Lark, it's like these stunt men are being very accommodating, sort of having their heads bounced off bar tables and whatnot. In reality, she would have gone up and just got her backside handed to her immediately. So again, like, you know, these writers, it's fantasy, but I'd like to think they've probably never really been in an actual fight. Not that I've got any sort of scraps to my name, but I've been in a few things in the past, in sort of like, you know, pubs back home, and yeah, you don't want to tangle with one bloke, let alone 4 or 5 of them. You get your head kicked in. But yeah, never mind. Right, so that's that opening bit. We've established that strong female character is strong. Right, let's carry on. Oh god, I've had to, like, genuinely, the pause here has been like a couple of seconds, and I've gone again. So we've just transitioned to Capital City 1, who cares what it's called, and we've got more exposition. We've got the narrator telling us exactly what's gone on. Like, it's almost like the opening to Star Wars, where you've got the text rolling through the screen. Here's everything you need to know quickly to bring yourself up to speed. Right? But in this, it's like, it's that same sort of thing every scene. Like, I know it's only 4 episodes long. I've checked, right? But what they're trying to do is they want all the payoff, but with none of the setup, right? They like, you know, when you watch Game of Thrones and you knew all about King's Landing because it had featured so heavily, you knew it was like the heart and soul of Westeros, and this is where important stuff gets done. But with The Witcher here, BO, they want to set up that world as fast as possible, but not put any of the real groundwork in. Immediately explain that the king is under attack by assassins. So that's handy to know. More frame by frame explanation from the narrator here as we go along. So, you know, explaining as we're watching the assassins attack the king that they have to get through the king's bodyguard. Yeah, I know because I've got like a pulse and I'm awake. Like, I would imagine, without you having to explain it to me, that a king who for whatever reason is just prancing around his streets would have some sort of close protection, right? This isn't surprising, But no, you've got to explain it and set up one of the 7. And I spotted that he was one of the 7 because, again, he was introduced in the title sequence. He comes in, rescues the princess, which is odd. It's a novel, isn't it? What, the bloke rescuing her. Well, that could have ended very badly, but it probably would have finished the show off quite quickly, wouldn't it? So yeah, they get the king, his loyal bodyguard, main character man, and the princess. I'm assuming she's a princess. She's got white paint on her face, so she's either a princess or Queen Amidala. They get trapped in an alley, and some more assassins come. And at this point, I don't think they're assassins. I think it's like an actual gang or a small detachment of soldiers that have somehow snuck into this town. Because like an assassin to me is like maybe 1 or 2 individuals that maybe slip some poison in a drink. A group of people that attack in broad daylight and only strategy seems to be run at them with swords. I think they're just thugs for hire. That's my guessing. But never mind, I digress. So they're in an alley. They've been cornered off by a wagon full of barrels and some fire, and the assassins come in to finish them off. So the king takes one alleyway, the main character man takes the other, and they give a dagger to the princess and sort of like, go in that alley, the third entrance. And it's like, I don't know, Jesus. Like, maybe the situation was doomed from the start, but like, you're not a very good bodyguard when you're like, go on, princess, defend yourself, hope for the best. And obviously, an assassin comes in, her knife is bloodied and she looks all shocked, so she's obviously fought one of these assassins off. And I have to, again, are they really assassins? Like, if you're an assassin, surely you've had some training. Like, you've got a sword, for one thing. And I think a sword would beat a knife most of the time. Unless you're trained with the knife, of course. But I don't think this princess is. The way she looks after stabbing someone, she's all sort of shocked. Like, it's the first time I've killed someone. So he, the assassin, just fell on her knife for the plot to move forward. There we are. So that was a good little fight scene, wasn't it? That wasn't totally boring at all. Right. So we then move to a scene in the palace where they're rightfully sort of doubling down on the fact that the city's in lockdown. No one's moving in and out until we get to the bottom of this assassination attempt. That's fine. So I assume there's lots of guards everywhere at this point. And then during the conversation, she thanks him for saving her, which in all fairness he did. He took out a lot of blokes with his axe there, and he has to say it, doesn't he? He has to. You saved yourself, because we can't damage her agency, can we? We can't have any scene that ultimately means a man saves a woman. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'm just so jaded at this point. Like, I'm pure green. I'm not going to have much of my nose left if I continue pinching it the way I am watching this. Right, so then, after the conversation about saving herself, we move on to the bit that establishes a love interest between the two characters, the princess and the bodyguard. Now, he rightfully explains that he took an oath to protect her, and she's having none of it. No means no, apart from when it means yes. But no, she carries on, and they do the dirty by the looks of it. I don't know. In this, like, she's being, if the roles were reversed, right, where the prince was not taking no for an answer, the scene would be really awkward and it would be heavily criticised. But no, she's not taking no for an answer. But what makes things worse is she's royalty, so presumably she's somewhat untouchable in this instance if they did get caught. He's got everything to lose in this scenario, and she don't care. She's pressing forward with it. It then moves to like a scene with a couple of guards like walking down the corridor, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Right, yeah, immediately they're going to get caught. It's not like they get caught later on in the season. They're getting caught right now because everything that gets set up immediately has to then pay off. And I thought, presumably there's guards at their door, or is there guards at their door if they're about to do it? But in all fairness, the show correctly identifies like where's the guard gone, because it's meant to be him outside the room, and that's what alerts them. They barge in, catch him in the act, and in a surprise to no one, he gets banished. We then have to sit through a scene where main character man is riding along with what we learn to be his father, kind of right at the end of the scene. with him being led to the outskirts of the kingdom where he will face banishment, and how there's a little bit more exposition here where it's being explained, did something with an oath, he misbehaved in the past, all sorts of things. Like, we have to suddenly get on board and understand a whole load of backstory they don't really have the time to explain. So yeah, I kind of, with this scene, I didn't, who cares? They're trying to portray that this guy's never had a good relationship with his father, and it looks like they might have had a brother. He had another son that died, and he was the favoured one, and we've all got. I just don't care, because we've not been invested in this character. We're genuinely, what are we in now? What's the timestamp? 1537. So yeah, I don't care. But the thing I take from this is he's being banished. So theoretically, and I assume this, that he won't be allowed back in the kingdom ever. Right? It's not like later on in the episode they're going to need him back. Right? And all that banishment counts for nothing. Let's see. I feel like, is there a scene missing? Right? Because we're now back in the palace, and by the look of the lighting, it's getting dark. So presumably, the banishment has now happened, and we're with the princess and some bloke we later find out to be her brother. And there's she doesn't care. She does not care that apparently the love of her life, or someone she's been pining after for, I don't know, presumably a set amount of time, has just been banished. She's got someone removed from the kingdom, and she's chatting away and acting as if nothing's just happened. Surely there's some guilt there. Oh, what have I done? No, none of it. She's just psychotic, carrying on. And then the scene has to explain the kingdom needs her for what looks like an arranged marriage, because the kingdoms are all at war, and this arranged marriage might do something, but she doesn't look happy about it. She spent the scene kind of explaining some more backstory and origin, and obviously what we need to take away from this scene as good little boys and girls is she had designs of her own, and she doesn't want to be locked into marriage, even if it was for the good of everyone else. Something I have actually noticed so far is why are they elves? What's the point? I'm not massive into my Witcher lore, not really, but everything I've seen so far, the elves behave exactly like you would expect men or humans in a fantasy setting would, just standard peasantry and royalty, really. So I'm not saying that every elf has to be Lord of the Rings level ethereal. Let me clarify, Peter Jackson, not the Rings of Power there. But it does make me wonder, why pick elves for this? Because if they behave and act exactly the same way as men do, apart from pointy ears, what's the point of it? Just an observation there, really. But on the note of what got me down this thought process, a lot of what we've seen so far has been sort of peasantry that looks like it's a pretty hard life. She's in a big room reading, doesn't look like she wants for anything, but the price of that is an arranged marriage. So it's kind of you win some, you lose some, but let's see where it goes next. It then jumps into a scene with Lenny Henry. I wasn't expecting Lenny Henry here, or Sir Lenny Henry is he now. He's the one that's behind all the assassination attempts. He opens up a dark portal, so obviously he's not a good guy. Then we're back in the village with the Lark, and she's sat down with the serving girl from the beginning of the episode, inspiring her is the only way I can describe it. Obviously the serving girl, just like the princess, she wants more from life. Fine, I guess. But that's all interrupted when some soldiers come for the Lark.
Stop right there, criminal scum! Nobody breaks the law on my watch!
Because apparently stabbing people in the leg in the middle of broad daylight in a tavern, regardless of what they were going to do, is frowned upon with the local custodians, and they've come to put her in the nick. This small town with 5 chimney pots, not only has it got a tavern, it's also got a prison, sort of a local militia. Impressive. But the Lark is thrown in the jail, and surprise, surprise, it's only main character bloke who'd been banished not a couple of scenes ago, and we last saw him in some sort of woodland, and now all of a sudden he's on this island in this village. That's nice. I feel that the program might suffer a little bit with world building and time scales. Like, how far apart are these things? Because it seems like it's just next door. But yeah, the Lark and main character dude, they don't like each other. Well, she doesn't like him. She immediately recognises him from a battlefield a few years ago who killed a relation to her. Honestly, I didn't. I kind of zoned off a little bit. I was kind of just thinking, how have you recognised someone like that you might have seen ages ago on the middle of a battlefield of all places? And then she's got to take her vengeance. They have a bit of a scuffle. But more. I didn't care about the exchange. They were chatting, like, again, trying to establish what they were and who their backstories are, what countries they're from. It's hard to care because it all feels so rushed. But ultimately, main character dude is busted out of jail. I don't know what he did. If that was explained, I missed it. I don't know why he's in jail. Probably because the plot needs it to happen. But yeah, he's busted out, and next scene. Short little breakaway from the village there, with the king in his throne room back in the main town, while he explains what's been going on. They're at war. They've been at war with two kingdoms for 1,000 years. One of the guys in the room advises a way of sort of giving the dwarves what they wanted, and he says, no, we can't do that, we can't fight a war on two fronts, we'll starve to death. And it's like, but hasn't it been going on for 1,000 years? So are you on the verge of starving right now, or have you in fact found a way of maintaining 1,000-year war? Presumably a 1,000-year war, the vast majority of it is like a bit like the Cold War, not actually battling, can't actually go on for 1,000 years. Surely you'd run out of people, wouldn't you? But yeah, nevertheless, short little break to explain what's going on there, and then back in the village. Hold up, right? And main character dude is now free, wandering around outside. I don't know where he's going. And a messenger appears.
You've got mail.
And he's needed back in the... Jesus Christ. Didn't I say this not like... I don't know what it was, like 10 minutes ago, that if he's being banished, right, presumably there's some sort of permanence to that, right? Now, the setup and payoff, like, has to be instant in all of this. This is the thing I'm taking from it. They have to set something up, knock those pins over immediately, because they are assuming that the audience are as thick as pig swill, and we won't remember something that happened several scenes ago. Correction, he was in fact on his way to a brothel, main character dude. The small village has got a lot of amenities, I tell you, and the scene is clearly there for him to realise that his pendant that was mentioned a couple of scenes ago was missing. So back in the jail cell, it was mentioned by the Lark that she recognised his pendant, blah, 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 don't care. A couple of scenes on, it's now missing, and we needed a way for main character dude to realise it was missing. So we set this whole scene up to establish just that. But we do get the line from main character dude when he's at the brothel, when he's talking about payment, but before he realises he might use his pendant to pay for said services, he instructs the men and women of the night that his word is payment. I don't think that really works. I mean, I might try it next time I'm in town and I'm ordering a Burger King. Just go, how much is it? £8? No, my word is my... and then we're back with the Lark. She's using this pendant that's, I mean, it's the size of like a finger. Like, it's quite a big pendant, like in the shape of like a claw. And she's using it to pick a lock. I often use large instruments to pick open a lock. You just use the blunt end of a hammer, not a bobby pin or something that would actually fit in the locking mechanism. No. Yes, the Lark escapes. Just what we're always wanting. She climbed out the jail cell, went right back to the house that she was nicked in to see the small girl that she rescued, and what can she hear? The faint sound of her instrument. She inspired her. We were hoping it was going to happen, and she did. She inspired that little girl to take up STEM. I mean, a musical instrument. But wait, it's not the little girl who's playing the instrument. I did get that wrong. It is none other than the Lark's sister, who has found her in this remote village, just in the same way as main character dude's messenger came and found him. Don't think about it. Just roll with it. Everyone knows immediately where anyone is on this remote village island, and they both of the Power Rangers here are needed back to help sign the peace treaty that we got in with the king. That short scene we had where we're back in the main city where the king is brokering and he's talking about the 1,000-year war and what he can do. This is now obviously a peace treaty, and the Lark who set aside her blade in favour of a musical instrument is needed back at the peace treaty. Main character dude who has been banished, but he's needed back at the I don't know why. It's not really explained why they're needed back at the peace. I mean, if it's a peace treaty, I mean, you're expecting a fight. I guess that's reasonable. You know, if things go out of hand, you've been warring with them for 1,000 years, of course. But it strikes me as why these two, like, you know, it's not World of Warcraft where if they die they're just going to respawn. You know, if that was the case, you think fair enough. We do need those warriors on our side because, you know, if they do get killed, they'll just respawn down the hall and pop back in again, and definitely we win. All of this is contrived, isn't it? Really. We quickly learn that, you know, her sister deeply misses her, the Lark that is, and she wants them back, not just to sign the peace treaty, but for presumably family. I don't care, blah, 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 blah. In pops the serving girl, who then has a fit, mumbles some words at the Lark that all sound fairly important. Then the mother explains of the serving girl that she has visions. Oh, the visions always come true. Oh, really? That's convenient that they always come true, these visions. Quite useful. I wonder if this will come up again. Like, will she be used somewhere else in the series to have a vision? I suppose the saving grace is at least it's not the narrator explaining what's going on or about to happen, so there's that. But in any event, the visions of the Lark signing the peace treaty convinces the Lark to go and sign the peace treaty or something, and she hurries out the door after her sister. Oh, but it doesn't last very long because her sister, the messenger, gets 2 arrows put in her by some masked individuals that turn up. Everyone knows where everyone is here. It's quite convenient. Pops a couple of arrows into the sister, fires a third to his credit at the Lark, but she blocks it with her quiver, I guess. That'll work. She gets annoyed. She shouts into the sky, "Show yourself." I've got no idea why the assassins are after her. I mean, the show almost feels like it's gaslighting me. Like, am I meant to know what's going on? Am I meant to know why some people have turned up? Maybe I did. Maybe I've missed it. Maybe constantly pausing to try and reflect on what on earth just happened has actually meant I understand less of what's going on. That might be it. But nevertheless, she taunts the would-be assassins, and she manages to aggro all of them. So at least we know she's a tank class. If she is a tank class, however, she's got the easiest job imaginable because all the mobs line up one by one and she dispatches them sort of single-handedly. There's about, 7 of them, and they all take their turn to go and fight her, which is really nice. If you've ever been raiding in WoW, I think I'd love it if if the trash mobs all just queued up and you took them one at a time. That'd be great. And DPS shows up right at the last minute. Oh, right. So DPS, main character dude, he's then fighting some of this trash on his own. The first one he fights, I mean, it's like straight out the Indiana Jones playbook. The assassin comes, swings a sword, and he just goes, yeah, stab, dead. And then the remaining assassin, who has been doing what all this time, but he runs away, seeing main character dude. He runs off out of town. Nope, not doing this. And the main character, he turns around. He launches his 2-handed axe in the direction of this running mercenary, and Jesus Christ, has this not spotted? The guy, the assassin running away, he actually stops in his tracks and falls over just before the axe actually hits him. Right, so obviously, when this is being filmed, they didn't throw an axe at the dude. Right, so obviously he would have been told, right, run that way, and count to 5 in your head. Once you get to 5, stop and pretend like an axe has hit you. So that's what he's doing. That's what's actually happened on set. And then obviously in post they'll go in and put the axe in, but they've gone, that's close enough. So I like the attention to detail here. Ooh, but does that axe actually kill the dude? I mean, as the main character bends down to take this axe that's clearly embedded in the guy's like spine and rib cage, like it's a good couple of inches deep. The assassin still has a little bit of fight left in him and slashes main character dude with a knife. Again, like you're just watching this going, what is going on? I just want a little bit of believability. I know I'm picking this apart. I understand it. You know, my missus would tell me, you know, don't think too much about it. Just enjoy it for what it is. But it's hard. Like, the guy's just had an axe taken out of his back. Like, you know, even if he's still alive, he's coughing up blood at this point. He's not doing anything, let alone arching around and stabbing his attacker in the whatever. He then, our main character dude, walks up to the Lark, and she goes, "What are you doing here?" And he, he just said he wants this necklace back, and he's like, "Oh, I'm looking for a boat out of here." Oh, really? I thought you came back for your necklace, because if you were just looking for a boat out of here, surely you just wouldn't have got involved in the fight, you know, because we're actually inland. If you're looking for a boat, you'd be by the sea. You wouldn't have got involved in the fight at all. Is the program forgetting the reason? Is it forgetting its own storyline? He wanted the necklace, now he wants a boat. Maybe the necklace turns into a boat. Who knows? I wouldn't put it past it. And then they start checking the dead bodies of the would-be assassins who are, for whatever reason, after them, and they notice that each of these corpses have got marks or identifiers on them that mean they are from the various different armies, which I assume are part of this 1,000 Years' War. So, great! Peace has been achieved. The three armies have somehow put aside their differences after 1,000 years of fighting to kill these two numbskulls. So that was their destiny all along. I don't need to watch any further, do I? That's what rallied the three kingdoms? The hatred of these two morons? I don't think I'll be that lucky. I'm going to need to press play again, won't I? They then briefly agree that teaming up to do whatever they need to do is probably the best idea, and he gets his necklace back by yanking it off of her neck, breaking the chain. So he can't wear it now. Now, if you're confused as I am at this point, I wouldn't blame you. So we fast forwarded to the night time where the peace treaty is going to be signed, and of course the three kingdoms are all there in attendance. I can't tell them apart because they're all the same homogenous group of diversity and insert current year hires. So none of the kingdoms have a feel to them, but nevertheless, right? They're going to sign this peace treaty. I can't actually remember why. You know, they've been fighting for 1,000 years, so presumably their hatred of one another runs fairly deep. But no, just the mere suggestion of signing a peace treaty is enough for them to go, oh yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, let's give it a go. Right, so they're all there, ready to sign the peace treaty and end the 1,000-year war. While this is happening and the king of the first country that we've been following is giving some rousing speech, people in the audience start leaving. And to the credit of the main character dude's dad, who led him to his banishment earlier on in the episode, he starts actually noticing this. There's people leaving the room. That's kind of worrying, isn't it? Really, no one else seems to bat an eyelid that these three hostile kingdoms have all got together, and then all of a sudden the representatives of Russia and the United States are walking out the background, and then, you know, some European nations in the middle going, does that mean anything? Do you think at all? Nah, it'll be fine. Right. So yeah, they all leave. The princess that we've been following, she feigns stomach cramps, irritable bowel syndrome, something, and she suggests maybe I should leave as well. Yeah, sure, why not? We don't need you here at all, really. So she leaves, and then the plan unfolds. A big old CGI dragon demon thing arrives, turns the remaining members of the peace treaty into paint, The princess stabs someone to get away. The narrator then steps in to explain that peace has now been achieved. The 1,000-year war is at an end because everyone's been murdered, and she's now the empress for what I can only assume is so she can get out of the arranged marriage, which is somewhat psychotic, but it's not being portrayed like that. See, a couple of things there. They were going to have peace anyway, so by killing everyone and establishing peace, you just did what exactly? Because they were already arriving at that station. You've just got them there, and as a byproduct, they're all dead as well. So yeah, I guess it's all very peaceful if no one's breathing anymore. But to do all of this to avoid an arranged marriage seems like I'm not here. Right, let me just back up a little. I'm not here advocating for arranged marriages. I think it's a heinous thing that goes on, unfortunately, in the real world. But to murder 3 sort of like kingdoms worth of governments or royal families, and presumably a couple of innocent stewards just hanging around at the background, it seems a little over the top. It's a bold strategy, so let's see how that pans out. There's a quick scene back with the Lark and main character Dude, who are still on their boat in the middle of the ocean in the middle of the night, and they're on their way to the peace treaty, which again it begs the question, were they ever going to arrive in time? Because messengers were sent to go and get them, and then like kind of the next scene was the peace treaty, and then the scene after that was them still on their way there. So they were never going to arrive anyway. So what was the point of the assassins being sent after them, to what I can only assume to stop them getting to the peace treaty? But they were never going to get there in time because they were too far away. Somehow the messengers got there in a blink of an eye. I got it. The messengers must have had their hearthstones set at the inn at the small village on the island, so they instant travelled there. But when the other characters, the Lark, were trying to get back, they hadn't. Their hearthstone was set at the same inn, so they thought, oh crap, we've got to make this whole journey. I haven't unlocked the flight paths. That must be it. That's right, yeah. So this is what I'm going to do moving forward. I'm going to use World of Warcraft logic to explain some of the jumps here. That's got to be the way that the show writers intended people to watch this. We then find the Lark and the other Dude. They've travelled to a new village, and on their way there, they notice that there are some new banners. Now, I wouldn't have realised that this was a new banner, but they specifically draw attention to it by saying, I've never seen that crest before. So are we assuming this is the new crest of the Empress? And it's like, what's the timeline here? Like, she only just rose to power, and is this village close by? Or are they still miles away from the main city? I don't know. But in this short space of time, they've distributed new flags, designed new emblems, or was this all done in in preparation for this coup? Who knows? The pair of them then nip into a small tavern with the plan of extracting information from the local populace, find out what's going on. Their aim is to get someone drunk, and they'll spill the beans. In actual fact, they don't need to do that, because the table they sit next to, there's a group of people that are just handily recapping exactly what's gone on. The Empress's rise to power, how she slaughtered all of her family and the delegates of other nations. How these peasants quite know this. I would imagine if you've rose to power, you've not really publicised exactly how you've done it if there was a lot of bloodshed. But no, these people in the tavern know all about it, so they handily blab all of this. Then one of them notices some guards that have walked in who have had time to redress. They're in a completely different uniform, so we're told. So not only have we had enough time in between scenes for new flags to be distributed and hung up all over the continent, but all of the soldiers have had brand new sets of armour, chainmail and the like. So again, what's the timeline here? But anyway, this peasant, this guy that's conveniently behaving like the narrator, he gobs off to these guards about how they've changed uniform, they're traitors, and promptly gets his head bounced off a table. Then the pair, the Lark and main character Dude, take this as their cue to slip out the back door just before the guards hold up some wanted posters, and they're looking for these two. I mean, I don't know why these two are so important. They've decided that actually storming the palace, the main town, just the two of them might not be the best idea. They're slightly outnumbered, so what will really help is a third member of the team of the Power Rangers here. So they decide to recruit the Lark's old sword trainer lady who lives in the arse end of nowhere. I mean, literally, it's so desolate where they're walking to now. But on their way to find this sword master, they bump into some travelling farmers who are fleeing some war. Thought there was peace now, but whatever. And one of them recognises the Lark and wants the Lark to sing to her because she saw her live at the Apollo last year, and and she really. And it was just fangirling. It was just awful. It was there, basically. And I think that they actually said the line, like, "You're awesome." And it was just, yeah, I guess. I mean, I haven't really seen any evidence to it. And then they try and sing that Black Rose song they've been trying to plug, and how it's so inspiring. And honestly, right, there's a lot of cringe in this. It's hard to watch. It really is. But where are we? We're almost at the end. I can see when I move my mouse up the progress bar, I can see the credits now. So there's not much further. Bear with us. So further up the trail of this desolate wasteland, the Lark stops a main character dude from walking straight into a pit trap because, of course, she needs to stop the bumbling man from doing something foolish. And he replies, "No, I know it was there. Like the other two." We've previously walked past. I'm not all that thick, don't you know? And then he proceeds to turn around and then walk backwards straight into a pit trap, which I almost need. We need one of these like audience laugh react things now. And it was just and this is something that just happens time and time again. I think in a lot of these programs you can tell the character by who's playing them. Right, so if there's a male lead, well, he's not the lead. He's always going to be the second character in insert current year. But you can't have a strong male lead and a strong female lead. In modern cinema, it's almost the case that to have a strong female lead, all the male characters need to be subservient or clumsy or oafish or the bad guy. All in all, and this is, I think it's evident here. That he's the fool that walked straight into a pit trap, and thankfully these pit traps didn't have any spikes in it. But it reminds me, like at the weekend we sat down and watched Alien, and there's a strong female character in Alien, and even watching it as a boy, it never occurred to me that I couldn't connect with the person on screen because she was just an awesome character, and none of the other characters on the set had to be diminished to big up Ripley. It didn't need to happen at all. And I see things more and more nowadays where diversity, representation, people need to see each other or see themselves on the screen, and I just get so disheartened with this sort of mindset, because you don't need to see yourself on the screen. Again, with Alien is one of my favourite franchises up until the third film kind of went off the rail. But if we just look at Alien and Aliens, right, there was never a point where I wasn't afraid of what would happen to the cast or the crew of the Nostromo because of their skin colour or their gender. There wasn't a point where Ripley is facing off against the alien where I'm thinking, I don't really care what happens here. I can't relate to the character because she's not a man. It's like, no, you relate to her on a human level. If I can't relate to her on a gendered level, I just relate to her as the human emotion. Right? I wouldn't want to be in that situation. She's a human being. I'm a human being. I can relate to that fear. Isn't that awful? Anyway, gone off on a massive tangent here. Back to The Witcher BO, and we meet Michelle Yeoh. She must have been paid a lot of money, or work's quite scarce for her to be in this. But yeah, she surprises the Lark when she's laughing at main character dude being in a hole. There's a short exchange between the three of them, and Michelle Yeoh informs the other two that the Empress wants them dead. And I'm thinking, what? how does she know? She's living in the middle of nowhere. Like, if you wanted to have that conversation, wouldn't it have made more sense for the Lark and main character dude to turn around and say, oh, by the way, we need your help because for whatever reason this crazy lass from the palace wants us dead. We could probably have an extra sword to fight all of the thousands of soldiers. She doesn't want to come. Michelle doesn't want to come with the two of them. But they step outside. They have a brief fight for whatever reason. And in fairness, the fight wasn't that bad. I was expecting, she's gonna like hand the main character dude's backside to him on a plate. But in fairness, she whoops both of their asses. So fine. After that short lesson in humility, she agrees to, all right, I will come with you. You've twisted my arm. You've convinced me. They set fire to a gaff for I don't know what reason. Presumably she never wants to come back to this hellscape. And then credits roll, and I think, thank God, because I think I've mentioned this earlier on, I just feel gaslit. Like, I feel like I haven't been paying attention, but on the contrary, I've been paying more attention, I would imagine, than your average viewer, because I've been trying to analyse each scene, and I still don't really know what's going on. Like, there's things I've kind of filled in. That's probably happening there. This is happening. There seems to be bits of the story they miss. Even with the narrator constantly hammering in, scene by scene, what's going on, I still come out the other end a little bit lost for words, and have no real idea what's going on. Maybe I'm just a bit thick. But honestly, this has been a challenge. This is genuinely, to be the first thing that I review on the channel, this has not been easy. In this short episode, I mean, it's 40 minutes and it feels like 3.5 hours. But they've set things up that happen in the very next scene. They're trying to rush all of this through. And yeah, just to circle back to the fact that, is this what they wanted The Witcher to be all along? And Henry Cavill kept pulling them back on track. And even then, it wasn't particularly great. Is this what the showrunners would do without his influence? It looks like it. And oh my word. The thing is, like, I can laugh at a lot of this and how terrible this entire first episode has been, because I'm not like a massive Witcher fan. I mean, I care about this in the same way that I care about any franchise being adapted to film and sticking to the lore, because as I've said sort of in other areas and other videos, the fan base is what makes something successful. So when producers come and make something for television and they pick an IP to sell whatever garbage they're peddling, they should respect the fact that the fans are the reason that they can even use this in the first instance, right? So I think things should be law abiding because of that, and just to show respect to the people that have put their hands in their back pocket throughout the last sort of several years and built a franchise up to a level that you can throw it on the big screen. All right, but just to circle back a tad, I can find it funny in The Witcher Blood Origin to a degree, because I'm not that invested in The Witcher as a franchise. I enjoy it, it's cool, but it's not my bread and butter. However, if they had done something like this to Warhammer 40k or Warhammer Fantasy Battle, they can do what they want with Age of Sigmar, then I would really be hacked off, right? So I just appreciate that, although I've laughed throughout this, if you're a Witcher fan, like watching BO here, I feel your pain, I really do. Now, if I don't review any more episodes of The Witcher Blood Origin, just assume that I've given up, because the next 3 episodes are not that appealing to me, so it really depends on how well this video does. But yeah, based on this first episode, it's lazy, it's contrived, they're rushing things through. They so desperately want to build a universe that, say, Game of Thrones had in its heyday, but they don't want to put any of the groundwork in, or they don't have the budget for the groundwork, or they don't have the talent for the groundwork. Or a mixture of all three. Anyway, if you've got this far, I thank you very much for your time. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.